Hey Ray, Tom Hitchcock here. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Happy Friday. It's been a long week.
It has a very long week.
So anyway, we don't know each other. We've connected. You put your hand up to being on the podcast, which we appreciate. So I'm very excited to hear your story and see what benefit it may have for our listeners as well. So the floor's all yours, Ray.
Thank you. So first of all, I guess I'll introduce myself, my First Nations background. So I'm a Kayambal descendant on my father's side and a Walbunja descendant on my mother's side. And I currently live out on Darug country, which is out at Western Sydney. So that's a bit about my First Nations side. I own a business called Barragy Consulting. We're a First Nations business, and we work a lot with architects and government organisations, and we really drive a platform for First Nations communities, elders, knowledge holders, community members to be a part of a design process, and really start to embed their knowledge and their stories through that design process in a built form outcome. Part of what we're also looking to do and expand into, hopefully this year, is being on that consultation side a little bit more. So from the consultation through to the construction side, and really driving another platform for First Nations people to be a part of not just the consultation phase, but working on that building capacity for the community, and really driving a positive platform for the entire process.
Okay. All right. Thanks for sharing. So this is your business?
It is, yes, it is.
Good. How long have you been doing this for?
I think it was about 2019. I think it was the same time as COVID. So it was really very slow in the beginning, as you can imagine. And then it took that building that platform and putting our name out there and really driving the commitment of First Nations communities and voices to be heard through all those other big name consultancies and other big projects that are happening. So I think from 2019 to now, we've started to drive our name, Barragy, and what we are about and what we're trying to achieve, it's been a long process, but it's been a really great one at the same time.
Okay, so let's just code in a little bit more on yourself. What was you doing prior to 2019? What was who was Ray before this initiative?
Ray's been all over the place. So I've got a bit of a background through admin. I think the longest career that I had was with the New South Wales Police, which was in admin. But I think what really started to drive the pathway process was a very personal story of mine that I went through, and it involved Department of Community Services and domestic violence. So being able to really understand that process on a different side that not many people are on, and not a side that I would wish it upon anybody, but I honestly believe that process built me to be the person that I am today. It was a lot of lows, but at the same time, the end goal was the main goal. So being able to really be that strong, independent First Nations woman going through such a difficult situation, really started to create what I could do for other First Nations people or other people who have found themselves in similar positions, and not having a voice, but also not having people around them in that network that everybody should have. So being able to create that capacity building, understanding, mentoring, it's something that drives me to create employment pathways. And sometimes you just need that one person that says, yeah, like, you've got this, I believe in you. And then that's it. You just take those steps, just step after step after step. But we all do need a bit of a hand up sometimes, and that's what's really started to push me back into believing in myself, my business, and really driving pathways along with consultation processes.
Okay, all right. So you had a bit of a personal circumstance which is less than ideal. But these things do happen, to all sorts of people, all walks of life. But what I heard from that is it gave you the opportunity to round off your experience, because you could sit the other side of the fence and see how it was the other side, which I think is something that people miss on when they're making decisions on perspective. Okay. A really common one, and not to belittle that experience, is people as job seekers, they forget in the interview process, it's actually not so much about them, it's about the person that's interviewed them. Okay. And what's in it for them? How can we take that risk away? And if you put yourself in their shoes, then how you communicate and what you say is completely different.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's part of that process. Everything's a journey. I know not a lot of people like that word journey, but I
Mm.
love it. And it really does tell a story, even if it is just an interview process. You're going in, you might be so nervous and you might not really understand or really know what you're giving to that employer, but it's that confidence building, and it's the fact that if you've got a mentor, you've got somebody in your life, or you can find the difficulties in life and really just twist them into something that's so great, of like stepping stones to see the other side. And it's how you sell yourself, and a lot of people don't really sell themselves great. I mean, I didn't at first. I hated it. Someone would say, "Tell me about you," or "Tell me your strengths," or even tell me the not great benefits, and it would just be like, wow. What do you say? But the more you believe in yourself, the more you've got that support, the more you feel connected within you as a person. You'd be great. You can sell yourself to anything. It's like I always got told, I was like, when I talk to people, sometimes it was like, oh, you could sell ice to an Eskimo, and I was like, I don't understand that one. But I think it's just the way that you build yourself and the way that you can really connect with people, understand people, listen to people, and it's those qualities that you just sort of don't really look at so much. And other people who listen to you and you talk to, it's just like, wow, like they've got this, they've got that, they'd be great at this. And yeah, it's just about creating that space for yourself to really be heard and really put your best foot forward and understand your qualities, even if it is something that you've gone through in a bad patch. You never know what the outcome can be unless you really really start to understand those difficulties.
I think there's a lot of hindsight being spoken there. So there's people, and fair enough, that get very nervous in new situations. But it can be easily simplified when we realise how easy it is to make friends, and how we have that conversation, and we just find out that little snippet about people. We want people to like us, and that's essentially all we're doing all the time. So if you put yourself in a more of an alien situation, you're doing that same thing again. You know,
Yeah,
there's not many bad people out there. And they're not going for the jobs of doing these things. It's a different situation.
yeah.
Um, okay, so that's interesting. So in 2019, you had your aha moment to go and set up this business. What happened? What triggered you to initiate that?
I think it was a mix of things. I think, I finally found that confidence within me as a person, what I wanted to be able to do for my children and what legacy I wanted to be able to leave in the world too. But I think all the experiences combined of my different, opportunities in work and employment and training. But I think the biggest thing was, for so long, I always wondered, what am I here for? What's my purpose? Um, and being so into my culture and my Aboriginality, I was able to sort of have an opportunity and experience consulting. And I just thought, that's what I want. That's where I want to be. That's that voice. And how could I do it? How could I bring what I want? How I want to leave my legacy? Um, and yeah, just sort of kicked off with just cultural awareness training, which then started to build up and get more in depth with community, with organisations, and I just sort of found myself wandering down a path that I guess was placed in front of me.
Mhm.
And I went from there. Decided to build upon different attributes and that I could bring to the table, experience and lived experience from my past, and just really drive and create connection for First Nations voices to be a part of consultation processes.
Okay. And how much impact has the organisation had so far on change and what you're trying to achieve?
Yeah, I think, from where we were to now, I can definitely see those changes grow from being quite small to medium to bigger. Really being able to create those platforms for voices and really being able to understand that connection from, community grassroots level through to organizations and their ability to be able to make an impact on projects. And it's huge when you look back at it and you see just a piece of land that might have been an old building or just an empty lot, um, being put back into a really great building, with art, with storytelling, with even landscaping telling us a story. Like, you can really see the cultural significance through the voices of the people that we've consulted with throughout that process. It's been great.
So I don't know if you can tell by my accent. So I'm from the UK originally. I've been here nearly 14 years now. So the Aboriginal conversations was all completely new to me. I'm learning as I go, sort of thing. But one thing I have learned is the culture for First Nations. There's a lot of storytelling.
Yeah.
And I'll sort of pick that out from how you're saying some of the impacts that you've had on areas of the city and that. Is that a fair observation?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even every cultural group has different stories, different ways of telling stories, and I think one story that connects a lot of different cultural groups is the emu story. So the emu in the sky. It's a navigation story, and it spreads across from Kamilaroi country, which is where my father's from, all the way down through to Western Sydney here in the Darrick area. And you've got, different ways of telling stories as well. So whether it's verbally, whether it's through art, through song, through dance, even different symbols can still tell you stories. So it's I guess it's that really great opportunity where you're able to sit back and listen and just observe and still be a part of that cultural exchange process. Um, and I think one of the best parts now is seeing that come into built form, and really seeing those buildings come to life with culture embedded through it. It can just be in subtle ways, or you can have these big sculptures that tell a really big, amazing, beautiful story. But I think for me now is really driving and creating those employment pathways for First Nations people. That's another story, another narrative, to be able to drive these modernized type of stories into employment, and being able to create those extra opportunities for First Nations people throughout, hopefully, a lot of projects that I'm on.
Okay, I like that. Before I push into that, I'm curious, what's your favourite story that's been passed down?
Um, I think I've living in Sydney. I've been here about 20 odd years now. So I think listening and hearing the stories of the whale, the migration, to see it every year, and even to see the news capture the migration of the Migaloo going all the way up top. I really love to be able to see that and connect back to that story that I've been told. And even when you're on different projects, especially in that area, you see and you hear elders or knowledge holders and community members. They'll give little snippets of the story, and you're like, I remember that story. I know that story, and
Mhm.
it's something that I still tell my children. So even though this isn't my country, um, I pass on what I hear through my work to my children, so that they've still got a connection to the wider community group and their culture, which is it's a beautiful thing.
I like that. I think my favourite story that I've heard personally is the one of the like a bird. You know that one, the one where they mimic every sound
Uh,
that's around them and they look after people as they
yeah,
go through. Do you remember that story?
I've heard it. I've heard snippets of it. I
Yeah,
can't.
it is basically. I think they were saying, and I'm really not going to do it any justice, where all the animals could talk to each other, and then there was a betrayal, but only one of them didn't betray. So the rest of them now talk their own language and can only speak to their own kind. So whether it's a frog, whether it's a bird, whatever. But this one particular bird, because it was proven to be a good egg, if you like, it could speak everyone's language, and it had that luxury.
Isn't it amazing that there's always a lesson? There's a lesson in all the stories that you hear, and it's just a matter of listening to understand what that lesson is and how you bring it back to your life and your journey.
That's it, absolutely. So, okay, so we've got the building changes and being part of the process from consultancy all the way through to fruition. But you said you're also focusing on employment as well.
Yeah, and I think it's a massive big change to try and introduce, and there's a lot of different organisations and companies and businesses that do such great work around employment pathways. And I think because we're on at the very beginning through the consultation stage through to concept and building, it'd be great to be able to continually keep those relationships with the community, but also have their voices still be a part of that process. Who knows better of how a community would work more than a community itself? And you want to create change, so include the community and their voices to be a part of that process. How is it done? When should it be done? How do you do it? These are the sorts of things to be able to engage the community with and drive that change, have the community behind it, create it, drive it, and just watch it succeed.
Yeah, no, I like that. Okay, all right. And fast forward 5 years, where do you see things going to, and what's on the agenda?
Um, Growth, a lot of growth. I think, to be able to move into hopefully owning or getting to a point of owning a construction business itself. I think that'd be another opportunity to be able to drive the change that I'm looking for. Um, I want to be able to really create programs specifically around and for First Nations women who have been or are in DV situations, who are fighting for their children to come home. And I think employment is something that's stable, it's consistent, and if done right with mentoring and programs, it continues that consistency, it continues that stability, but it will also provide the change that government agencies and departments are looking for within these individuals to strive to be the person that they know that they can be.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's a good, healthy ambition, and probably quite realistic as well. And just before we wrap up, then there's probably a little bit more of a contentious question for idiots like me that are disconnected with different cultures, more so than I would like to be. There's for each side of the fence, there's a common disconnect. There's something that comes up all the time, and you wish you could change it. You wish you could educate. Say, can you guys stop saying this or doing this? As in regards to the Aboriginal community, the First Nations community, what would you say the big thing that we could say or do different to factor in different cultures?
I think showing up, but meaning it. I think showing up with integrity, showing up with authenticity, and showing up in a meaningful way. I think a lot of places, a lot of people, organisations, they speak because they can speak. They just speak to be heard. But I think really showing up with those three things is what should be done. It should be done every day. If you can do it for yourself, and if you can do it for your family, I'm pretty sure you can do it for other cultures, other nationalities, and other businesses. If you've got the same goal, just show up.
Yes, and I hear that loud and clear. In my terminology, I call that giving a shit.
Yeah. No,
And there's a lot of virtual signaling out there and all that, and I'm personally very cynical of it. It's positive, but it also isn't accurate, you know.
yeah.
But so I like the way you put that, to just show up and mean it, be genuine, be authentic, or just don't do it. You know, it's the same with anything, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
it.
All right. Anybody listening to this, they like you, they like your story, they like your business, they like where you're going, and they want to make contact with you. What would be the best medium for them to contact you with?
I'm pretty responsive, so I do have my contact details on the website, so barragyconsulting.com.au. So it's got the email, the phone number. I'm also on LinkedIn as well, and other socials that are there. So Ray Talbot or Barragy Consulting.
Brilliant. Well, thanks a lot for your time.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you for watching this episode. I hope that you did enjoy it, had lots of takeaways from it. As before, please subscribe below so you can keep on top of any new releases we have. And also, if you would like to have your story told, just reach out with me and I'd love to give you that platform. My best email address is tom@purplepatchconsulting.com. Thank you.